Jack, I don't know if I can do this today, man.
Yeah, this is tough, Tom.
It's tough. We already did it.
You got to do it. You got to face
talked
the
a
music.
lot. That's how you know I was venting and going through it because I yapped a lot on this podcast.
You did. That's fine, though. You know?
I know.
You got the stage, the platform to do it.
I do. But I got some great guests here. I hope I didn't take away too much from them.
No, you didn't. I think we had a good balance, good pod.
Yeah. Good pod. When Dan comes on, you know it's going to be good. He couldn't make it here. We're not quite special enough for that.
It's so hard to get Dan
really
on this
is.
podcast, but we at least got him virtually. So.
I saw Dan this weekend, thankfully.
Really?
Yeah, rare.
Yeah.
He didn't really invite me. I kind of just showed up.
How did you organize that?
I heard through the grapevine that
Did you have to set up an appointment or something?
No, there was no
secretary?
appointments.
No?
He doesn't answer my calls, so I had to talk to a friend of a friend of a friend, and then I intercepted him
Nice.
and got him for a half hour or so.
Classic.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us, Dan. We got Dallas too, guys. Gonna be a good episode today, talking about the NLCS. Some of us here were winners, some of us were losers. Won't know any names, you probably already know. But Jack to mediate, Jack to intervene, and the rest is gonna be history. So this is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. Got your co-host today back in the building, sad after our Lions loss, and we also got a guest in the studio for the first time in what feels like forever.
I know. We haven't had someone live in the flesh in a while.
It's my enemy.
I invited fresh meat down here
my own
in the
enemy.
stew.
I know. We need some fresh meat down here. Brought in my enemy so I could grill him for an hour. But Dallas, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Not a problem. We also have Dirty Dan on the Zoom call here. Dan didn't want to be left out, although he didn't want to come over for some reason. Claims he didn't have a ride. That was the excuse I heard.
That is the excuse, but glad to be back on, Tom.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you, Dan. Dan
Didn't have a ride. Can you not drive, Dan?
I don't have a car with me. I can drive.
He's just stuck in Ann Arbor, I guess.
Yeah.
High off that big win on Saturday.
I am. That was a good win.
God, I went to
that was a good one, Tom.
I got offered tickets to the Michigan State game. Great seats too. And we didn't make it very long in that stadium. It was a pretty early exit.
Yeah, that was not really much of a fight.
No, my teams lost a combined like 90-6 this weekend, so it was tough.
It was brutal.
And the Mallards lost, so it was like a triple whammy. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just 1, 2, 3.
You did get slammed.
Bad for sure. But Dallas is feeling good. Dan's feeling good. The Wolverines and the Eagles had a much better weekend. But I guess we can talk about the NLCS, of course. That's why we're all gathered here today. Eagles are 1 week away from their World Series in Atlanta. So, fellas, where do we begin? What a series. Where do we begin? Game 1? Is that where we begin?
Why not?
I think you kind of need to facilitate this, Jack.
It only makes sense.
A little bit.
I need to facilitate it?
I mean, I don't know. I could.
I was thinking that I would just more so interject when needed to. But we got the three people who were
we got a lot of competitors here.
A lot of competitors here.
All right, well, we can get into it. You can mediate if you want.
Okay.
Step in, of course.
I will.
You want to.
I will.
So, game 1. Let's go pregame. How are you guys feeling confidence-wise? I said it on the pod already in the predictions podcast. I wasn't like cocky, but I did think we were like the favorite going in. I felt confident. What was the Eagles clubhouse feeling like?
For me at least, I knew that all the fans thought that we had no shot of winning that series. They were thinking, oh, they beat the D-backs. Now they're just going to lose the Mallards, and it didn't mean anything. So we had a little bit chip of our shoulder knowing that pretty much all the fans thought we had no shot of winning that series. And I was pretty confident going into it too. I do have a good history against the Mallards in series. I don't know what my record is, but I know I have a winning record, so I was pretty confident going into that series.
Mentally, he's feeling good. No numbers to back it up, apparently, but I was feeling good. We were feeling good. We saw Dallas well earlier in the year. We beat you on opening day that first game. You came back and beat us in game 3, but I think there was a lot of confidence on both sides, but the needle had to sway one way or the other. So let's talk about, we got into the scoring a little bit here. So we had a scoreless first inning. Both pitchers looked pretty smooth. I think you got a 1-2-3 first. And then the Eagles got the party started with Landon Urgitis. He's pesky, man. He's been a pesky out for us Mallards the last couple of years. And it was first and second, I believe. He hit a shot up the middle. And then a run came in. I had a bit of an errant throw that scored a second run. That ball really floated on me. I watched it in real time. I remember thinking, like, I feel like Robos had a shot at catching that. But watching it back, that thing sailed pretty bad. I don't think he was anywhere.
It did get out of hand pretty quickly.
It did.
Sailed out of there. I mean, I think it was the right play though.
Oh, I had to go home with it, but I got to keep it within the backstop for sure. It was like
It's so hard. It's so hard to do.
I know it is. It's tough. You're rushing and it's like awkward. But it stung. You know, being down 1-0 would have been bad enough as it is. Being down multiple runs in a postseason game is never where you want to be.
Yeah.
Especially at your own error. And I was like, oh, geez. So they had a man on second, then no outs, but then Robles battled back. Got out of the inning. And then bottom 2, Dal, I was up against you, and I hit the solo home run. Yep. And that was off of a drop ball.
Yeah, slide drop.
Slide drop. And I also homered off a slide drop in the opening day series, right, against you?
It was some kind of drop, some form of it. So
it's important to note. I will say
one of his 7 different drops.
Yeah. Well, how many drops do you have for the fans?
I don't know, like 3 or 4 maybe if I can figure it out. Just all different arm slots from way down submarine to over the top. So
okay, it felt like a big run because, like I said, being down only 1.
It's huge.
With the power that we have in our lineup with Robles and myself, I was like, okay, we're back in this thing now.
Yeah, I mean, two, like you were saying, that second run coming across hurt, but I mean, you got to go into those games knowing that 2 runs is probably not going to be enough to win the game. I mean, anyway.
It can be.
You know what I mean? It can for sure, but it seems like in the postseason, typically you gotta be a little bit stronger than that at the plate.
Yeah, I wasn't really worried or anything. I knew. Like I said, we were seeing the ball very well. I was confident in Jordan. I had practiced a lot before this one and gotten a decent amount of sleep before this one, so I was feeling confident a little bit. So when we were down 2-0, I was like, not where you want to be, but I didn't think it was all over and done either. Mm-hmm. So we get the 1 back in the bottom of the second. Top 3, Robles shuts the door, and then bottom 3 is when the drama ensued. So Preston was leading it off, base knock, big hit from the kid. And then Robles struck out, then I came to the dish, and that's when the walk-off went down.
Sad times.
I think I didn't watch the full at bat back yet, guys, but I think the count was 1-0. Does that sound right to you? You might not remember.
I think so. I'm not really sure. I just remember what pitch I threw when Tom hit me.
Yeah, we'll give you guys the inside scoop. So I guess I don't want to toot my own horn too much here, Jack, but I want to give the fans the scoop.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give them the scoop.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, my first at-bat was the home run off of the drop. So then this next at-bat, I kind of figured I was going to get a riser at some point. I remember telling that to Matt and telling it to Davenport, like, he's going to give me a riser. I just can't miss it. And we talked about all year long how, like, you got to execute in those big moments. So I'm sitting there on deck just, like, thinking about it, like, I'm going to get this riser, and I cannot miss it. So I'm sitting on it. And I thought maybe Dallas would outclass me and just never throw me one because he knew that's what I wanted. Because you kind of know I'm not a drop guy, don't you?
So, sorry, quick interjection. Yeah. Had you been throwing him any risers at all to this point?
I mean, occasionally, but like I said, I know Tom hit sliders and risers very well. But my only problem with throwing him drops there is I knew in opening day and just now in the last inning that Tom had hit 2 home runs off of me off of 2 drop balls. So it was kind of tough for me to pitch to Tom at that point.
Yeah,
so,
makes sense.
Yeah, so I knew that he probably didn't want to throw a drop again because of the home run ball. And I was totally sitting drop to start the day off because I figured that's all I was going to get. But he did mix in like a riser or 2 that I just let go by. And I'm like, oh, those were pitches that were really hittable compared to some of these drop balls. So after I hit the home run, I'm like, he's probably going to start me with one here. But then I think you threw a drop first, and I just took it. And then next pitch riser, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, pure shock of, like, actually getting what you wanted and executing.
Yeah, it's like. I mean, I'm not very good at golf. I know Dallas is a golfer. And
Dallas can golf.
And I'm sure you can relate to when you think through like your whole process of the shot and like what you're aiming to do, and it actually works out like exactly like that. That's how I imagine you probably felt, Tom, is you thought about everything leading up to that moment, including the opening day series and factoring that in. And then, you went out with a plan of like what you were going to look for and execute. And it was literally exactly how you wanted it to. And you connected with it.
It was like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. You don't really have, I guess, like good memories of those intense moments. Like it happened so fast.
Yeah.
But I remember, like I said, telling people like, I cannot miss this riser. I'm pacing. I'm pacing behind the backstop. You know what I mean? Like I cannot miss this pitch. So I was so happy that I actually got one and then hit it. And then there was that picture of me and Robles hugging. And I wanted to share some backstory on that because pretty much what I was saying to him was like, I got you, dude. I got you because this is not an excuse by any means because there's guys in MLW that drive an hour every time, 3 hours every time like RJ, or 5 hours like Bennett has or Pishka has. But unfortunately, because it was playoff day too, it stunk. But we had a nightmare Robles travel day that weekend for the series. So he was supposed to fly out So it played on a Sunday. It was played on a Sunday at September. And we had a flight booked for him like Saturday afternoon. So we'd get in, we could grab dinner, and then get some rest, and then play Sunday morning. I think we had like 11 a.m. start, something like that.
Yeah, it was something really like that.
Yeah, so
love that.
He gets to the airport in New York, which is like an hour and a half from where he lives, and it's just delay. Like it was 4 or 5 different delays, and I'm just sitting here waiting to go pick him up. Another text delay. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then at like 9:30 p.m., he's like, yep, canceled. And I'm like, dude, like, it's just a nightmare scenario because we're on this deadline of getting all these games in before the World Series. We wanted to have time to plan which teams are going to be in the World Series. So we didn't know what to do. And every flight there's 3 airports kind of near New York City. It's JFK, it's LaGuardia, and Newark, New Jersey. Every flight there, anywhere, canceled that day. Everything was canceled. There was no flights leaving. So then the hotel started filling up, so I couldn't find anywhere to put him for the night. And it was 11 p.m. now, and he's stuck in New York City. I have nowhere to put him, so we're coordinating that, trying to figure out where to put him. No planes coming back. We're like, what are we going to do with the series? We're going to reschedule this and do like back-to-back with the NLCS the next week. And somehow, I swear to you, Jack, there was 0 planes coming to Detroit. And we happened to look at the Grand Rapids, Michigan airport, which is like an hour and 45 minutes west of where we're at. Mm-hmm. And there was 1 single plane coming from one of those 3 airports to direct to Grand Rapids in the morning. So we booked it. And I was like, I don't know how, but there's 1 plane coming, and hopefully it doesn't get canceled because there was no other planes coming the next day. Everything was canceled. It was crazy because of weather. So worked out. I had to, he had a long night, didn't get a lot of sleep probably, and then I had to drive 2 hours one way, 2 hours back to get him right to the field, played. So like when I hugged him, I was like, I got you. Like I know it was a long, crappy travel day, but let's win this series.
Dang.
So that was a funny picture. I thought
that meant a lot more than hug. Yeah, after all of that too.
A lot long days. Once again, everyone in MLW travels, crazy, drive a long time or done. Like Bennett relocated himself for the summer and lived like in Michigan. So people go through that stuff all the time, but that was just a him and I, like, I got you. I know it's been a crappy travel schedule, but I got you here.
Yeah, that's a cool moment.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to bring up the fact that Dallas, there's a clip of you there included where you were kind of crouched down on the mound, visibly shaken up, frustrated, obviously. What's going through your mind after that home run, losing game 1?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I had to remember that it was a 3-game series in this time, and that I knew that whoever was on the mound in game 2 could get through it and we could win that game, and that I knew coming back to game 3 that we could win 2 games in a row. Like, it wasn't out of the fact. We could definitely do it and win 2 in a row, and game 1 wouldn't even matter at that point.
Did you say anything to Dallas, Dan, post-game?
I mean, I was just kind of talking to the whole team, like just like Dallas said, just trying to lift our spirits up. Dallas knew it was a 3-game series, so I was just, trying to lift his head up. He'd have more opportunities, but I think credit goes out to Blade a lot too. Going back out there in game 2, pitching his butt off, it really sparked us. And
one thing I'll say too is I kind of take back to the NLDS in 2022 in that game 2 where I kind of fell apart, and then my emotions kind of got to me in game 3. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I just have to remember that I can't let my emotions get to me, and I just have to look in the future, that everything's in the past from what just happened. So always look ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was pretty hype, because you know the significance of like being up 1-0 is so different than being down 1-0.
For sure.
I definitely didn't think the series was over, but and I kind of knew you guys would go with Blade regardless. I knew that was the plan, but I wasn't for sure you're going to stick to it now that you had lost. But I kind of told my guys beforehand that we're probably going to see Blade game 2 no matter what happens, so we were ready for Blade. But moving into game 2, I will say that I think that what I told like Norp, I talked to Norp after the game, and like I talked to some of my friends who watched the videos online. I was like, I think the turning point of the entire series, the most important frame of the entire day, was top of the first, game 2, when Blade didn't give up any runs. Yeah. So we had so much momentum. Yep. I think if we score top of the first, take the lead in game 2, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for sure, but that would have been tough for the Eagles.
It would have swung things for sure.
So I think for Blade to hit the reset button for the Eagles, shut us out in the first inning, even though we had all the momentum, was massive in hindsight.
And
massive.
And also the good thing about Blade is that he's going to let you know when he does something good. And like he's going to be excited for sure, and he's going to show his emotion. So
yeah, we talked with Dallas the last time he was on the podcast about, Dan, your guys' strategy on continuing to ride with Blade there in game 2. I mean, how did you feel after the way that game 1 ended? Obviously sticking to your guns there. That was your guys' strategy going into the series. But I mean, you had to be a little bit nervous, at least throwing your number 2 guy out there in a must-win situation.
It's a hashtag bold move, Cotton.
It is.
To be honest, and I'm not just saying this, like, I know we were down 1-0, but like, I was not nervous. Like, me and Zach kept saying, like, full confidence in you, Blade. Like, we're gonna go out and win this game. So we really made sure to keep our spirits high, and we had confidence in Blade. We know he's very solid with that game 2 ball, and he's used to it. So he really stepped up to the plate, and we felt confident in him for sure.
Did I get outclassed here, you think?
Well, I was gonna say, flipping it over to you, Tom. Pretty interesting bullpen management here in game 2. So you started with Jordan, and then eventually moved to Caden. Obviously, the result of the game didn't go your way. What was your thought process leading up to that game in terms of who you were going to pitch, who you were going to start, and then ultimately, the process of going to Caden?
It's tough. It's tough last year. It was tough this year, even though I thought I had a plan. Things change, and you have a guy like Jordan who's so accomplished in the sport and travels all this way to play and has proven himself time and time again that he is our clear ace. He's been so dominant this year. I think he won like 8 or 9 games, led the league in wins, just pounding the zone, and had a great first game. Like I said, he gave up the 1 run off the Landon hit, but the other one was kind of a throwing error, and after that he shut the door. So when we see Blade take the hill, top of the first, we get to see that before I make the decision, right?
Yep.
And Jordan's like in my ear, like, I want the ball. Because we were kind of talking, me, him, and Matt, about what we should do, because I originally wanted to go to Caden game 2 no matter what. And I'm like, man, like, he wants the ball. We're facing Blade. We should be able to score here. It's hard. So I was persuaded to go Jordan, and I didn't hate the move. I had a lot of faith in Jordan. But as I suspected, the Eagles were just starting to put bat on ball in that first inning.
Yeah.
Dan hit a home run to take the lead. And then after the inning, I was like, Jordan, we got to go to Caden. I was like, I know you want the ball so bad here, but let's just, even if we lose this game, you got the ball in game 3, fresh ball, brand new ball. Let's go to Caden, show them something different. It's the exact same thing Jimmy did to us last year when they beat us. They showed us Jonah for an inning. Let's just show them Caden for an inning. So did the same thing the D-backs did to us last year. And do I regret not starting Caden? I don't know. He didn't have his best stuff that day either, I don't think.
Yeah.
And it was a bummer that Caden missed, I think, our last series of the year, so we hadn't actually pitched in an MLW game in about a month's time. So I don't know if I necessarily regret the decision. I just think the Eagles started to get more and more confidence throughout the day. And the bummer is that Caden and Jordan have pretty similar arsenals too, so it wasn't like, I feel like, that big of an eye-level change. I don't know. What do you think about as a hitter?
They're a little different. I think Caden more goes to like simple drop, where Jordan kind of likes to stay to his 2-seam and slide drop. So they're a little different, but obviously no pitcher is the same. So
yeah,
anything can change anything.
I would have been interesting if I could have got Preston out there, but
I was gonna ask if there was ever a thought
very similar to last year, where Caden was sort of coming on late in the year, and I was getting somewhat comfortable with him on the mound because he pitched well in Oklahoma, and I think again in our last series against the Magic in 2022. Preston was kind of the same way this year, where I put him out there for like an inning or 2 against the Gators, and then I saw him pitch at Wiffle in the mitten, and I was like, this kid definitely has something, but it wasn't enough for me to justify putting him in instead of a Caden or a Jordan. But I do think he's a much different look, a much more foreign look to hitters. So who knows? Maybe he would have had the better stuff on the day, but it was just hard for me to make that call.
Dan, what's your take in terms of facing Jordan and facing Caden? Obviously, you were able to get that very questionable home run. No, I'm just kidding. I think it was definitely fair.
I
think we're confirmed that it was fair.
I made that comment on this our note sheet here because I didn't think anything of it the day of, but I was watching the video back today and taking notes, and I'm watching. I'm like, sure that ball was fair.
I think it hooked.
It's always from the GoPro. Yeah. The GoPro always makes it look more foul than it is. From the hitter's perspective, I'm sure it was pretty obvious. Don't be cheating on me, Dan.
That it was very close. Even when I hit that, I was like,
jeez, I don't like that answer.
No, but on the video, it looked fair to me. I don't know. But going back, Tom, I do think you made the right call going to Caden. I remember specifically, like, once Caden was put in, I was trying to really take more pitches because I wasn't seeing him as well as Jordan. And, like, that's nothing against Jordan, but, like, it's just inevitable. You're going to see a pitcher better over time. Like, we learned that the hard way. last year against the D-backs, when they
we
started seeing Dallas more and more. So, so I thought your idea was good. I mean, that was kind of in line with what we did with Blade. And then game 3, like you said, like Jordan would have a good ball. And that was my idea with Dallas. Like Dallas is, his great stuff with the fresh ball. So I thought the strategy was good. It just comes down to, it's just wiffle ball sometimes.
Just wiffle ball. Yeah. Easy to say as the winner.
Honestly,
it's just ball, Tom.
It's just ball. Yeah, I put one over. It was like barely fair. It's just wiffle ball.
I cheated a little bit.
Hey, fair is fair, man. Fair is fair.
It's just ball.
Very true. I will say, like, just watching the video from a fan perspective, it seemed weird how like Jordan started and then you went to Caden. Like hearing your thought process now makes it make a little bit more sense. But I was expecting you, especially with what you had said before the series in the beginning of the video about your confidence in Caden. Like your bullpen and Caden. I thought you would have started, especially after you guys won the first game.
I know.
I thought you would have gone to either Caden or Preston. I mean, I get what you're saying, and you got multiple people in your ear.
Maybe I should have put my foot down and started Caden because I mean, I guess honestly speaking, I think I wanted to do that before the series.
Yeah.
But then winning the first game and seeing we're playing Blade and like watching Caden and Jordan kind of talk about what they wanted to do, Jordan wanted the ball, and when a guy wants the ball like that, it's hard to take it out of his hands. And
that's fair. I mean,
but no, that's the call you got to make as a manager. It's hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And I think a thing is that you can't look back on a decision that you made because you never know. Like if Robles goes out there and shoves for the next 3 innings and you look like a genius.
Yeah, if we shell Blade and then Robles is, it's like, okay, you guys just pummeled them. But
100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was more so saying, like I said, it makes sense now listening to you, but as from the fan perspective is like you started Jordan, he only let up 1 run, and then it was like, okay, now we're gonna put in Caden. It was like, wait, what?
But I think what then showed later in the day in game 3 shows why I did that because they were all over him.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
were.
I could just tell. I've seen this movie before. The Eagles have hit Robles well before, and I saw him taking good swings in the top of the first, making me nervous. Dan put one over. I'm like, yeah, we gotta call it.
Yeah,
we gotta call it. It's gonna get ugly if we don't.
Understood. Yeah.
So,
and I want to say something too, especially about game 2 and about Blade. I think like us starting 1-5, but I think our whole season changed in game 3 at Wayne State. Like I think Dan can say this too.
That's rock bottom.
Yeah, literally. But I think Dan can say this too. Like we never thought Blade would have pitched a game this year, even thrown an inning this year. And with my arm being hurt in Wayne State, and then Dan obviously having control issues, like I think Blade pitching in that game 3 really like gave us the confidence to throw him out there. And then Blade goes out and goes 3-0 in the regular season, and we're like, now we know we have a comfortable number 2 arm in Blade to go out there and pitch in the playoffs.
That's what it takes sometimes, though. Yeah. Just like you were like, didn't know if you should pitch RJ. It was sketchy warm-ups the first time, and you pitched him, and all of a sudden he's like the stud of the league.
Imagine.
I know.
So what do you? I guess I'll ask from both sides of the table here. Like you facing Blade, what do you think makes him so challenging to go up against? And I'll ask the same question to you guys after Tom's answer.
For me, first of all, watching it back, this is a comment on the whole day, not just Blade, but I was late on everything. So that was a mistake on my part. But I think I was late because I was uncomfortable being that, the cat's out of the bag on this. We talked about how I'm like sitting on a certain pitch. That's kind of been how I've been able to hit so many home runs in this league the last 2 years. So against Blade, I just couldn't really find anything comfortable to like sit on and time up and like a pitch that I wanted to get. It was all just like, I don't want to hit any of this stuff. Like he was throwing sort of the same pitch. It was an overhand drop ball, but just very inconsistent amounts of breaks. Sometimes, even though it looked pretty similar out of the hand, it was running way outside on me. Other times it was dipping down. So there was pitches, where I like would swing. I thought it was going to drop farther than it would, and I would swing, and then it wouldn't, and then it would slide outside. Some of them were sharper than others, so I just couldn't really find anything to sit on. Whereas, like Dallas, I'm pretty familiar with Dallas's drop ball, and I've seen a lot of risers in my day. Whereas Blade, I couldn't really get comfortable in that batter's box, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
I'll ask you guys the same thing. Maybe you'll have a similar answer, but just from watching the video, I would agree with what you're saying, and it's very ironic that the inconsistency is actually an asset to the pitcher,
for sure.
Because you take someone like Dallas or any other, like A-list pitcher in this league. They can obviously mix it up, but they have the bread and butter pitches that they come back to because they're consistent. They know where it's going to break and they know where it's going to hit. And those are the ones that you can actually time up and like sit on.
Yeah.
But when the pitcher is out there and he might not even know where it's going to end up, it makes it really hard for the hitter.
And I don't even know if Blade falls in this category, but just speaking on explicitly movement, we've gone to a lot of these national tournaments now, like NWLA or UF specifically, when it's cut balls.
Yep.
And each time it's typically the same teams that are making deep runs, and they're not the guys with the pitchers that have the craziest, most like wild movement, highest velocity. Those teams will go far. But talking top 3, top 4, it's the guys that actually really know how to pitch, know what to throw in what situations, can mix it up, can change velocities, can hit corners. It's a lot more important than just getting a lot of movement on the ball, especially if your movement's the same every time.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
What would you guys say has made Blade so tough this year to go against?
I appreciate the way Blade just goes out there and attacks the zone. He throws a lot of strikes and he brings a lot of energy. Like, you're going to have to hit off him to be successful. He's going to go out there and do his thing. But yeah, again, going back to what Dallas said, I agree that Game 3 of the Detroit series was really the turning point of the year. And I think Blade is really the unsung hero of the season, honestly. I kind of just threw him in the fire in that situation. Like, obviously, he didn't think he'd be pitching for us in the long term. So I really appreciate the way he has stepped up big time for us.
Yeah, and me and Blade being really good friends, obviously we play with each other, and I couldn't really get like a look because Blade was hurt and he tore his labrum a year ago. So when we start hitting and pitching in the yard, I do have tough time hitting Blade, and sometimes I do know what's coming, but still, like Tom said, sometimes this stuff darts, sometimes it doesn't. So you really never know.
Yeah, I'm gonna play you guys a funny clip in a second of Blade, but I think it's just you got to force yourself to really start to to look for that kind of pitch, whatever his was, like a slurve, I guess you could call it, because before I would pretty much just sit slider, riser, then guys stopped throwing me that. So then this off season and in practice, I'd only want to say drops because now I can kind of sit on a drop and hit it okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that little cutting, I don't know what you call it, that Blade has, like the sharp slurve.
I don't even
know. Uncomfortable. But I think that Blade had fun, and I'm going to prove it to you guys right now.
What were you feeling on the mound in Game 2? Any nerves, or was it all just excitement out there?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. It was weird. I kind of just had fun going into the game, and it was just fun to look forward to. And I was just kind of having fun on the mound, cracking jokes. And actually, before the last pitch, I asked Zach what I should throw. I didn't listen to him, but he did help me. He told me.
And then Zach,
just a lot of fun.
He was having fun.
He was just having fun on the mound, cracking jokes. And I had fun.
It was a lot of fun going into it. It was a lot of fun out there. It was a lot of fun when I was in it. That's awesome that he had so much fun.
I'm glad he's having fun. I mean, if you're not having fun, why are you playing?
I don't know.
I mean? But
I don't know.
Funny interview. But
that is great.
Props to Blade. I mean, that was a big moment.
Yeah. Step up. Talk about execution.
He executed.
He had his back against the wall a couple times too.
I know.
It wasn't like an easy, flawless game by any means.
I got a stat line right here. 3 innings. No, it was a no-hitter, first of all. Crazy. But he walked 5 guys, struck out 8. So 5 base runners throughout the game. Yep. And I didn't really remember this immediately after the game or waiting for the video to come out again. But I had a chance. I had 2 guys on top of the third. A home run would have put us in the lead, actually, down 2-0. And he struck me out there at the end, like I said. They're a late swing. A lot of late swings from me. But heck of a job. From a guy who was not a pitcher, wasn't planning on pitching this year, for him to step up in an elimination game against one of the better offenses in the league. That's how you get to the World Series right there.
For sure.
That's a World Series caliber statement piece from Blade.
So, Dan, I'll ask, I guess, leading into Game 3, even though Tom was able to get a couple homers off Dallas in the first game, he was pretty solid otherwise. And then you had Blade coming off a no-hitter, shutout. Was there any thought at all to start with Blade or maybe do some sort of combination like point. Tommy did in Game 2, or was it no doubt we're going with Dallas, sticking with them?
No, that's a good question, but no, I say there was full confidence going back in Dallas that Game 3. Obviously, that was our plan from the get-go, and we felt very comfortable in that. Like we said, Dallas is the most effective with the brand new balls. So, and Dallas, honestly, like I thought he pitched very well in the first game. It's just, Tommy obviously got a hold of that one, but for the majority of that game, I thought Dallas pitched very well. So no, we were always going to Dallas there in that situation.
And what was your mindset kind of walking into game 3? I know you talked a little bit about right away after game 1, but now you've probably had some time. You guys have won game 2 now. So it's like, winner take all game 3. What's your mindset going into there?
Well, the good thing going into the bottom of the first, because obviously the Mallards are the home team, was that we were able to get across 2 runs. We're not the flashiest team when it comes to like hitting home runs. We don't hit a lot of home runs. Obviously, Dan hit 2 this series, but we put the balls in play and we can score runs from it. So going into the first inning, having a 2-0 lead, it was much better, at least to say, because I knew that still, like, I can't walk guys. Still got to throw strikes. Like, I didn't walk a single guy in game 1, so I couldn't even be mad because Tom just got to me twice. So I knew if I threw strikes and I trusted my defense, because we've been way better defensively this year, so I could trust my defense and throw strikes.
Yeah, being down 2-0 stunk, and once again, you see things again on video and you remember how things went down, but I felt like Robles was really getting killed out there, like the day of and then the day after, but you guys kind of heard me say in the post-game interviews how like the pitching wasn't that great today. But it wasn't like they were crushing the ball. Landon hit a couple balls hard. Dallas, you pieced a few. Of course, Dan hit some home runs, but they had 7 hits in that third game, and a lot of them, were just little dribblers right out in front of the mound, and some of them there were plays to be made that we didn't make. Other times there was no play to be made at all. It was just perfect placement, but you put balls in play, and good things happen, and it did stink going down early in that one. I felt like the wind behind the sails was not very strong anymore in my clubhouse. And I was trying, you do what you can to rally the boys. I literally said to him, I'm like, I'm not one to make speeches. Like, I never really have been that guy. I've always tried to just kind of keep my composure and lead by example. But I think I huddled them up after like the second, after maybe bottom of the first or top of the second. I was like, guys, we can still win this game. Come on. Like, this is it. This is why you play.
Yeah.
Jesus. But, yeah, I felt like the faith was dwindling a little bit, which is a bummer to see. But
you could feel it a little bit in the video, kind of the momentum shift. I will say the Mallards did not have an A grade effort on defense. I think you guys made
sloppy.
a lot of I don't know if it was ultimately the difference in the series. It definitely didn't help.
It doesn't help because you never know.
You never know
how the momentum can shift.
Yeah, you never know. I don't think it was the deciding factor, but I think really that third game is less on Jordan and his pitching and more of like a testament to the Eagles on just their ability to like, we know that Jordan is someone who attacks the zone. It's going to be over the plate or around the plate, and they were just doing a really good job, it seemed like, of having good at bats and just getting balls in play. Like, the more you get balls in play, the more the other team makes mistakes and the more good things happen.
They put the pressure
for your
on us.
team. You don't always have to, swing for the fences. Like, Zach had like a funny comment post game about like, just like, he didn't really answer Kyle's question other than he's just trying to touch it out there, which like is funny because you watch him bat and that actually looks like that's all he's trying to do is just like trying to tap it, and that works. So I think it was, like, obviously the score, I think it ended up being what, like 5-0.
Yeah, 5-0.
5-0. I mean, I wouldn't say that's like a huge blowout. It's definitely not close, but I think that speaks more to the Eagles' ability to like stay focused and continue to put balls in play rather than like, the pitching not being as good for the Mallards.
Yeah, I feel like it felt worse than it was maybe, but yeah, I mean, the defense was sloppy. I myself probably counted 3 to 4 plays that I could have been better on, whether it was the throwing error or dropping ball at first or making the wrong decision, whatever it may be. That can definitely improve. The D-backs have been so good defensively over the years, and that's helped them so much. It wasn't like we were making routine errors. The routine plays were being made, but other than maybe 1 or 2.
But one point on that is like I think the championship winning plays that the Diamondbacks have made in previous postseasons are like a source of momentum. You know what I mean?
Agree.
When you're like, if you were the Eagles and it's like everything they're putting in play, you guys were getting everything out, like making plays, it starts to make them press more and like try that much harder. So I do think there is something to that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was the series decider. They beat us pretty much every aspect of the game, but I do think, if you simulate that game back and every play was made, things can change for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing too that's sort of difficult to practice, I guess. Like I have no problem getting myself out there and playing one-on-one against Davenport, getting my swings in, seeing live pitching, but actually like simulating defensive plays and different situations is tough. So it just comes down to kind of being an athlete, knowing the game, having your head there, being focused. Like that's
why I've always been so bad in the field, because like I have no baseball background and no sort of like experience in that. And then once the ball gets hit in play, like if you don't know what you're doing, where that ball gets hit and where you caught it before you catch it, then you already lost.
Yeah, there was just like some awkward things that like there was a ground ball. We had the infield in that top of the first, game 3.
Yep.
And somebody had a ground ball to first that like my full intentions was infield in, ground ball, go home.
Yeah, I think it was Zach.
Zach kept hitting dribblers like down the first baseline that were like coming back fair and just like putting me in an awkward spot. So like that play, I watched it back on video. I still think if I throw it home, I don't think I would have gotten you out if it was you running. It would have been very close, but just like, the way he put it right down the line, I was like, I'm just going to step on the bag here. I guess I could have maybe saved a run, but just awkward things that didn't go our way, but also a better play probably could have been made if I was more prepared and more sure-handed out there. With football defense, it's kind of just awkward in general. It's just like weightless plastic ball. The game's so small and quick, and throwing it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, that's the thing, is the field is so small that the decision-making time is like even smaller. You have to think so much faster because everything, it doesn't take very long for a guy to get from one base to another.
And it's just like, it's sort of awkward, for lack of a better word. Defense in football is sort of awkward. So, we could have definitely done a better job. I think that's a major point of emphasis from this series that I could take away. But when you have that many balls put in play on you, the Eagles put 10 balls in play in game 3. Not all of them were hits. They had 7 hits, but 10 balls in play.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're playing your best defense, your cleanest ball, 1 or 2 of those is probably going to end up being a hit. It's tough. So I give them credit. They put the pressure on us. They made it hurt. They put us away, buried us. They did it all.
Were you guys excited to see Robles take the mound coming back in game 3? Were you guys licking your chops there?
Yeah, the thing about Robles is like you always think of like the Norps, the I don't know, the guys who have like a ton of movement and crazy pitches. Well, Robles kind of just stays with his 2-seam inside drop, so you kind of can tell by an arm slide, you kind of know kind of how that ball is going to break. Instead, you're not going to see like a big curve from Robles. So you kind of just got to stay on the ball. He doesn't have the crazy movement that some of the guys in the league have, like RJ or Jimmy or Barron or something like that. So you kind of just got to stay on the ball and kind of just jump on it as quick as possible because it's going to get to you. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one thing I wish he had in his arsenal. Would love for that to be added somehow, but I think that's where Preston could be a big factor for us.
Jordan, do not add any curveballs.
Because Preston does have that big junk ball. He's got a lot of different pitches like that, so I think he could be a big addition to our bullpen next year. We'll see, but I don't want to sit here and cry all night. It stunk. It was easier to like digest. Like I said it in the interview the best I could. The year before, it was like I was laying in bed like, how did we lose that series, man? Like we were right there. I felt like we played better than the D-backs, honestly, and it just didn't happen. But this year, like packing up the stuff, getting the banners around, I'm like, we just got sent home. Like they beat us. I mean, defense wasn't great. We didn't hit the ball well. We struck out too much. We just got beat. Like
I mean, we both. I mean, you obviously picked the Mallards when we did the show before the playoffs. I picked the Mallards as well. Or actually, I picked the Diamondbacks, I think. No. I forget.
You picked us, I think.
You guys will tell me
I think
what
it was just Jimmy.
Yeah. But I will say, like, watching this video, the Eagles definitely looked like the more complete team from top to bottom.
They did.
Like, hands down. But from batting, everyone in their lineup was contributing.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 different pitchers that both pitched phenomenally, and they were sound on defense. They did what they needed to do on defense. So I don't think it's like you should lose sleep, really. I think the better team definitely won that day.
They did. I think last year, if we play the same way we did against the D-backs 10 times, I think we beat the D-backs probably 7 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year we play the Eagles like we did and they played us. I think we probably lose 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
It would have taken a couple more home runs for us to win those games.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't losing sleep over it. I was like, I guess we weren't the team I thought we were. Our pitching, we weren't able to make good enough pitches in big spots. The bats weren't there. just sloppy defense. We just didn't play our best ball that day. And I think, our ceiling is still very high, but we just got to be able to put it together in these high-pressure games. We haven't been able to do that in 2 years. So,
what do you think that is?
Pressure's pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot at stake on these games. I also think, like, Jimmy kind of walked this plank and it ended up biting him in the butt, but the DS can help you build momentum, and it's more reps, and you play those games closer together, whereas we had like a month off, which is not ideal. But playing an extra series is not ideal if you lose. Like Jimmy, you end up going home early. So playing in the CS is tough, and I don't know, Jack. What do you want me to say? We just didn't play good.
I don't know. Maybe there is nothing to be said.
It's definitely a different feeling playing in the championship series and the divisional series, because your championship series, like, it's all on the line there. You're either going to the World Series, you're going home. So
interesting. I haven't played in the DS in a long time, and when I have played in the DS, the opponent was never very good. How is it different? It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've played in a couple NLDS, and it's been like crazy series for me, but just that when you're playing in the NLCS, this is my first time ever in my career, but the first time playing, there's pressure. We knew that we were going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium if we win this series, so obviously last year we were going to SoFi Stadium, but we never got a chance to get there, and that's when I realized this year when I got there and I see Zach Whalen in the box taking his first pitch, I'm like, oh, we're here. Like, this is it. This is our chance to make it to the World Series and make it to Atlanta, so...
Yeah, we just haven't gotten done the playoffs. I have the numbers, Jack. They're ugly. I don't even want to read them.
Read them.
You want me to read them?
Read them, Tom.
I'm going to vomit, I think. All right. All caps. Mallards offense. This series, we were 4 for 29, so that's a 138 average. In last year's NLCS, we were 5 for 47. That's a 106 average. So our total in those two NLCSs in the last 2 years, in the Jordan Robles era, the Jordan Robles, Tommy Coughlin dynamic duo era, we have a team batting average of 118, 9 for 76 in those two games, with an average of 1.17 runs per game. In the regular season, the last 2 years, same time frame, regular season series, we're hitting 240 as a team with 3.63 runs per game. So significantly worse. We can't get it done in the playoffs, man.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Much, much worse. So
yeah.
So I guess follow-up question would be, after having digest this video and thought about the season a little more, what are you looking to do in the off season? Where do you think that the Mallards need the most help or can improve?
I've got some thoughts already. I don't want to say too much, but I definitely think that we need some flair in the bullpen. But it could be Preston. But I'm saying that I think that Jordan and Caden have done so good in the regular season because they do just pound strikes and we hit the ball and we're playing looser and everything. But in the playoffs, I feel like our stuff in the arsenal is just not good enough. It's not nasty enough. It's not putting enough pressure on hitters. Hitters aren't uncomfortable enough. I'm saying that, and the D-backs did not hit well last year. But I just feel like the Eagles look so comfortable seeing both Caden and Jordan. So I think that's one point of improvement. Offensively, I was pretty happy with our regular season performance this year. We hit for a lot of power. We scored a lot of runs, like I said. And I actually think Preston did a great job this year. People would say, Grant would be better, whatever. But he actually had an okay postseason. He had a couple hits, and he was on base when I hit the walk-off. And, we could probably use one more bat, too. So we'll see. We don't really have the best draft stock here. I think we're going to have we'll have the higher pick between you and I. So we'll see if you win or lose this CS series, but we're going to end up in that 5-6 range at best. So, we'll see what we can do with it. I don't know about trades or anything or what I could really get, but another bat would be nice, and I think some sort of diversification in the bullpen would be nice, but I think I might already have that guy in Preston. So
yeah, I think Preston, he looks sharp. He looks sharp at the plate. Obviously didn't get a chance on the mound. But we did see him in, I forget which series he played in.
Gators.
The Gators. We did see him against the Gators, and he definitely has some stuff.
Yeah, so I think he could be the guy next year.
I got a question for Dan. Dan, you've been in this league since the beginning.
Yep.
You've played in World Series. You've won things, you've lost things. Where does this series stack up? In your internal Hall of Fame of Eagles accomplishments and I guess personal accomplishments?
Oh, I mean, I think that's right up there with it. Honestly, like obviously it's like recency bias because it just happened, but like the Eagles haven't reached the World Series since 2019, and like especially with my play, like I feel like my role has dwindled. Like I don't want to say like my time's coming to a close, but like I only got so many prime years left. Like I'm really trying to get back. I'm really trying to get back there. So like I really hope we get it done this year. I'll say that. It would definitely mean a lot.
Yeah, I was saying like the Mallards Robles era, so that was 2022, and this year you guys had the Dallas Allen era. But Dallas, you also weren't the player you were in 2021 in your rookie year. 2022, 2023 were really your better years. But yeah, good for the Eagles, man. It stunk. I really wanted to go. I thought we had the talent, but it is what it is, man. It sucks.
You'll be back.
I will
always be back.
I will say
always next year, guys.
I will say, Tom, you were talking about your postseason. I don't know, and I was talking to the whole Eagle squad after we started 1-5, and I was like, the thing about MLW is that all 8 teams can win on any given day in a series, as long as you make it to the postseason. Well,
I don't know. Gators weren't that good this year.
They don't take it away from them, but like I was saying, like. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, especially in the postseason. All those 6 teams have a shot to win the World Series. So if you make it to the postseason, like anything can happen. It's kind of what we were telling each other.
Any more comments from you, Dan, about the series? How proud are you of the squad?
Honestly, like this is the most proud I've ever been of the squad, especially just because like everyone has contributed in their role, like in whichever way they can, like no matter the role. Whether I feel like we didn't. Talk about Landon enough. Like he's really stepped up. Blade, we've talked a lot about like him growing as a pitcher has been awesome.
Dan, be selfish for a second. I've been very selfish in this podcast just because I talk a lot on this microphone. And a lot of times it's not about me. So when I do something good, I try to share with the fans like some behind the scenes stuff that other guys can't do if they're not on the show or whatever. But you hit 2 bombs. Let's talk. Come on. This is your moment. Talk about how good that felt. What'd you see good?
That's true. I feel like, honestly, I'd been struggling for most of the year. Like, I'm going to be open and honest about it. But these past 2 series, I felt way more comfortable at the plate. I, made small adjustments with my swing, and I'm feeling good right now. So I'll be honest, I'm feeling confident. Hopefully I can carry that over to the big series.
Big series, Atlanta in a couple weeks. I wanted to ask you, too, you just said small adjustments real quick. Do you make, like, logical small adjustments or not really? Like, what do you change?
I would say I make logical small adjustments. So I guess like throughout the first 9 games of the year, I had been kind of raising my body and my hands to swing down on the ball, I guess I would say. To just focus more on contact. But then in the past 2 series, I would say I stopped raising my body as much, but kept my hands high, and I felt like that made a big difference. So I practiced that and just did a lot of repetitions, and I felt like it's helped a lot. Okay,
I was just curious what your logic was, if like you studied something or whatever, because my changes are very illogical. It's all about confidence for me. I talked about how before Philly, like I just like adjusted my hand placement and that like worked in practice. So I just did that in Philly and then it worked. And then I felt lost in the next 2 series. So then when we were in New York, one of those tournaments we played in before the playoffs, I just like opened my stance up more and I started to hit and I'm like, oh, that must have been the problem. Yeah, so in this series, I opened up my stance more, but it looks more open than it did like in the Philly series, for example. But it's all in your head.
Still had a couple.
You got to put the bat on the ball. So yeah, mentally open stance for me meant I'm going to hit better. So I did that and it somewhat worked for a portion of the day, but very late. My timing was bad. Wasn't getting the foot down. So I didn't know that the day of, but watching it back, my swings were too late. So
Dallas, you were like nodding your head and agreeing with Tommy. Do you also make illogical changes to your?
Yeah. Obviously, like if I'm struggling, I'm gonna try and look at the best players in the league, see what they're doing at the plate, seeing how they're attacking pitches.
Kyle Schultz.
Well, that seems pretty logical, though.
Very, very logical. That's not illogical.
That's not illogical.
That's not. My stance is too close with no reasoning behind it whatsoever.
Yeah, I put my left sock on first this morning. I'm gonna put my right sock on.
Literally.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, like if I'm struggling, like look at the best guys in the league, see what they're doing right, and see what they're doing wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that's more logical than what I do.
That's very logical.
My logic is Davenport, get out there and start throwing to me until I start hitting the ball hard. We're gonna try to replicate that again. But
you're gonna throw until your arm falls off, and I can figure this out.
I think this is not because of me, for the record, but it's funny that you say that because he says he thinks he needs Tommy John.
No,
he doesn't pitch. I told him, I was like, dude, you got to be careful.
Tom is literally driving his own players to surgery.
That sounds bad, but. we're not athletes anymore. We don't go out there and do this day in and day out. And he used to play baseball, used to throw pretty hard apparently. And at Wiffle in the Mitten, he goes out there and just threw like 100 pitches at 95 miles per hour on Dan's team. And he's like, every morning since then, I wake up with just pains in my arm. I'm like, you probably should get that checked out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, not good. But I appreciate him for his work. I sent him a text afterward. I was like, dude, I hope you enjoyed that walk-off because you were in that with me. I couldn't do that without you. But good series to the Eagles. Hats off to him. If I could take my hat off, I would. Bummer that we lost. I apologize to Mallard Nation. I saw some comments, saw some DMs, but that's how she goes, man. Sorry, guys. I tried my absolute best.
So sad.
I am sad. Comment of the week this week. Let's get into that right now. Pop it up. It is the Eagles are the definition of good things happening when you put balls in play. Not the best or most optimal play style, especially in this home run centered emphasis on offense, but they're my favorite team for a reason. Is the home run ball overhyped? I mean, I don't know if it's like, is not hitting home runs not optimal? I don't really know if that's a fair statement to make. I wanted to ask you guys that.
I mean, it all depends on the team. Obviously, the situation, like Tommy, like hitting a home run in the bottom of the third is like a crazy thing. Mm-hmm. But like, I think I look back to Game 3 in our playoff series. Like I think we scored 2 runs and then 1 run and then 2 runs. Just kept tacking on. Like, and I mean, obviously Dan hit a solo home run, but 4 of those runs weren't scored off of home runs. So, just like I said, if you keep tacking on, like good things are gonna happen. And that's kind of our philosophy, is put the ball in play.
I feel like Dan's like me. He's a home run or bust guy.
No, honestly, I'm not. Like, as a manager, I preach just put the ball in play, get on base any way you can. Like, put the pressure on the defense. Like, that's the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
I swing hard.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Dan's lying. He swings for a home run every time.
Why can I not just put a ball in play? When's my last?
Yeah.
Like, I can pop it up or like ground out, but like actual hits, it's just I'm hitting home runs or not getting any hits.
Well, what I was gonna say is I feel like the optimal is like what Ryan Cratch was saying on the last pod, where he is like trying to hit the ball directly up the middle, is what he says. Okay. And oftentimes it just ends up being a home run. But I feel like Landon is actually taking like a really similar approach, because almost every time he hits it, it's either right up the middle or it's a home run.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the optimal way, because it's like that's the opening usually, unless you hit the pitcher. Right, like if you get it by the pitcher, I mean that's a free, that you're on base no matter what. And then the ones that you get a little extra something on it, it's over the fence.
Yeah, I don't know. I should maybe think about my approach a little bit more. I wouldn't say I'm like trying to hit home runs, but I'm definitely not trying to not hit home runs. You know what I mean?
I think there's definitely a balance, because if you're just going out there only trying to hit home runs, you're probably gonna swing and miss a lot.
It's wiffle ball. Like, you don't really need to like crush it to get a bomb, at our field at least. So I don't know. My approach is I'm looking for one pitch and I'm going to try to hit this ball hard. And more often than not, it usually goes over the fence. Mm-hmm. But I do strike out a lot this year compared to last. Pretty much exactly what I said would happen when I quit hitting lefty 3 years ago has happened. My average has been lower, but I've hit for the most power. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know enough about baseball, but I feel like this is right. Like in the postseason, a lot of times the teams that like push through are the ones that are hitting bombs, like hitting home runs.
The Phillies right now.
The Phillies are hitting bombs.
Like if you can get hot and hit home runs, I mean, maybe it's not the same in MLW, but I think postseasons, like you can lock it down on the mound and you can put it over the fence. Mm-hmm. You got a good recipe there.
It's usually a pretty good recipe, but I do hate how ugly my swing is, for the record, guys. But like I said, I'm making illogical changes to give myself confidence to hit the ball. So we'll see how long that works for me.
Very natural process.
Very natural process. But overall, great series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All that's left now, Jack, before the Sunday festivities is the ALCS.
That's right.
Will it be Jack or will it be Cratched?
Let's ask these guys.
I don't know.
Who would you guys want to face?
Oh, these two clowns?
Yeah. These two clowns.
I mean, I don't know. Both teams are great. I think they're very evenly matched. It's going to be a great series no matter who wins. And I think that I really don't have a favorite who I want to face. I think whoever I face, I'm just going to go out there and play our game and hope we can get it done.
That's not the answer I was wanting.
That's a great mentality.
Jalen Hurts media answer.
Media
trained answer.
It is very media trained. Good job. A+, Dallas. You passed. Dan, what about you?
Give me something.
Give me a better answer.
Give me something I can clip and put on social media, Dan.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I was gonna say the exact same answer.
Who's the Eagles owner putting you guys through this garbage?
I knew
Give me some personality.
No, I will say it is difficult for us to say because we weren't able to play the Magic or the Preds this year. So
yeah, that's true.
But I will say, like, obviously, I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the team, but like, I've had problems facing Cratch. Especially like you go back to the 2019 World Series. Like, obviously, it's a long time ago, but we got swept that series. We could not hit the plate. So I don't want to say I want to play the Magic, but like, Cratch is obviously a Cy Young caliber pitcher. So like, but so then again, it's RJ. It's RJ. So it's like it's not like
he wants
a good option. It's just we'll play who we play. I agree with Dallas. We'll play who we play.
All right. Well, when you guys lose to the Magic in the World Series, we'll clip that, make sure it's on the headlines, and we'll make it look like an idiot. Just like me saying how confident I was in my team. But
perfect.
Oh well, that's how it goes, Dan. We take this microphone and we take it with honor, and we eat our words from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. But
we do.
Long pod today.
Is it?
Yeah, kind of. We're at an hour, and I have a dentist appointment in the morning, which is not ideal for the timing of this edit. But I got some work done today on the short.
I gotta get into the dentist. I'm overdue.
Are you? You gotta get in there. So
I moved.
I would have moved mine, but you can't because it's like a 5-month delay. Then.
Well, that's the thing is I moved, and then my dentist called me and was like, "Hey, you got an appointment?" I'm like, "I'm not driving all the way out there. Yeah. I'll just find a new one." And that was like months ago.
So now your teeth are just rot.
Yeah, they're just you guys are watching videos every week and just
you're like, and that was
rotting.
17 years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That was 2014.
Some people don't go to the dentist. I've met none of my friends, but I've met adults who've told me like, yeah, I don't go to the dentist. And I'm like, okay.
No, I am pro dentist for the record. Good. I just have it's just on my list of things to do that hasn't got done.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I should really I should go for like a checkup with the doctor. I haven't done that in who knows long.
Also should
maybe some blood work, make sure I'm not going to die anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get a physical every year playing sports, but now it's like...
Then you moved, and you're like,
But now I don't play sports.
Yeah, and you moved.
And I moved.
Never took care of that either.
So I need a new doctor.
Take care of yourselves, guys. All right. Well, good pod. Fun fact for the day, the Mallards had exactly 169 at-bats in both 2022 and 2023 regular seasons. See you guys all next week. Pipe it up.